know?
Why? We were never, because we're both very outspoken, and both of us, I think, project this level of confidence to be able to be outspoken, like when you talked about getting to the front of the concert or whatever that was. And I don't feel like you or I are able to get that from a lot of other relationships we had had. So that was something we've spoken about over the years, right? Is that we never were passive with each other if we felt a certain discontentment with each other. It was like, no, I don't agree with that, or you're kind of being a dick.
Yeah.
Welcome to A Village in Progress. I'm your host, Alexis. Village in Progress is a weekly call between friends practicing meaningful connection in a world increasingly shaped by technology and AI. Each week, we'll share stories and insights from decades of friendship and explore the rituals and habits that have helped them thrive. We'll talk about the importance of the friendships we have and the ones we hope to build in the future. This is a space for honest talk and hopeful imagination about what it means to care, belong, and build community. I hope you'll join us, because thriving villages aren't found. They are built intentionally together. Hey, it's Lex. Hope you're having a great day. Give me a call when you can. Bye.
Well, so today I am with my friend Shannon, and you're my oldest friend. Not by age, but by like longevity of
Years.
our
Yeah.
friendship. You're the oldest friend that I have kept in contact with, actually. Like, I know people from elementary school and other things, but not that are actually like in my friend group that I
In your
consider.
circle.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
my circle. So, we've been friends for a super long time, been through a lot together, which we'll talk a little bit about. But I just really want to thank you for joining me in this project. I keep calling it a project, but just joining me in this. I know it is outside of my comfort zone too. So, but I think that our friendship has a lot to gain from sharing with people, because I think we have been
Absolutely.
through so much. I think it is funny that we showed up in like similar shirts today. I
I
feel like you and I have always been like as strange, like sisters, like the odd couple, like sisters.
twins.
Yeah, everybody always thought that we were sisters and related. And I think that it's really interesting because I think you and I are really different in a lot of aspects. I think you're like the creative, artsy, like version of me, like out in the world.
And you're like the organized, driven, straight path version I've
Yeah.
always wanted to be.
But there's something, I was thinking about it, there's something that obviously connects us. Because even when we met in high school and uh, we were very different. And there's been a lot of times over our friendship that we sort of went in and out of even hanging out with each other when I think
Mhm.
back to high school.
Yeah.
And when we met, the first time that I saw Shannon, she was like in this very put together outfit. I remember it still to this day because we were sitting in the gym and you had this little skirt on and like shoes and this like red sweater, and your nails were also red. And I thought, who is this girl that is just like very prim and proper and buttoned up? Like, who is this? And then
From that. Yeah.
and then I don't know when exactly then we started talking, but then I think maybe I sat at lunch with you guys, or then like we had a health, we like, because Jim was also part of health, and we sat together and we just started talking, I think, about California.
Yes. I remember me looking over and saying, "Hi, I'm Shannon. I heard you're from California. I have family in California." And
Yeah,
I felt like that might have been the first kind of connection,
I think it
right?
might have been.
Like, I remember, like, I can't imagine this chick transitioning to our school in ninth grade, how that must have been such a challenge. But at that time, like, my perception of anyone from California was super cool, must be a surfer, you know, the ocean, the beautiful skyline. Like, that was like my vision of California. So I had to get to know you. And I feel like from that point forward, it was, all history.
I think we really clicked super early on, but I just remember like you were always into like all this different music that I had never listened to and all these like bands and like you just had this like much more free spirit and like of silliness to you that I didn't have. But when I was around you, we would try like all kinds of new stuff and like those ear candle. You were always like trying to do something like holistic. Like
The
those
ear
ear candles,
candles.
like one time after school, Shannon, I don't know where you got them, but they were those are gross. Those ear candles are disgusting. And we were laying on your bed with like the lights off and music playing and probably incense burning and like
Oh,
had
yeah.
this like candle in our ear that we were lighting from the top. It was burning my head. Like burning my head, and it was supposed to be sucking like all the toxins and earwax. And then you would look and you'd be like, oh yeah, so much earwax in there. Like, oh, I'd be like, this smells disgusting. Like it's so gross. But you were always the person that were like, let's try this or let's do this or I don't know. I just always remember that. But it's really interesting to me when I look back because I think our relationship has gone through so much and has evolved so much. But when I think back to high school, I think like, I wonder what that connection was other than maybe we just like had been friends in another life or because I remember like I would go to pick you up from school and you'd be like just waking up and I'd be like, Shannon, we got to go. And you just like always were on your own time and like bit like, like to your own drum. And your room was always like 120 degrees because you were just like, I need the heat. And I was just like, God, we couldn't be more different. Like, I'm sweating in here. You got to go. You got to hurry up. Like, we're going to be late to school. And you were just always like, oh, it's okay, man. We're going to get there. It'll be fine. I'm like, but it's funny because there was something inherently, I think, in us that just clicked,
Connected. I feel like
connected.
you were always along for the ride,
I
right?
was.
So I feel like, and never in a dangerous way, but it was always in a very like pure exploratory way that I had this partner in crime that, just like you said, if it was ever anything organic or outside the box and kind of on our own time, you were like, yeah, let's give it a whirl. So I always thought that that connection was really interesting, just like you said, because we could have been on completely different wavelengths, but we're trying and exploring these new phases of teenagehood together and connection, and then able to create this like relatability and bond between these experiences we're trialing together. Whether it be us cheerleading, who, by the way, Alexis and I are the most far from cheerleaders. I'm embarrassed to this day to even tell anyone that we were cheerleaders because we were so not flexible.
We were terrible.
Um,
We didn't know the
we were
cheers.
terrible. We never knew the cheers, but we literally did it for the laughs
Right.
between us. I think like between us, and I also feel like maybe one of our connections is that we always had this knacked capability to, I feel like, lead others
Yeah. I
and
think we
to be
are
humble about it,
leaders.
maybe like in a, and I mean this in a very humble way, but in a influential kind of counselor personality way. So even when we were cheerleaders, like we were able to embrace some of like the younger cheerleaders, right? And be like, it's all good, and like have those little pep talks with them and things like that. Or when other students were going through things throughout our high school years, I feel as though others were able to come to you and I for like balance or conversation or a healthy connection. Um, so maybe that's what it was, that you and I were a little wise before our age, maybe,
Yeah,
potentially. And then we were able to see things from a bigger horizon, even though we connected at age 15.
that's true. I didn't think about that, but I do think that we both have that energy and kind of set that out and are natural leaders in that way. When you were talking about the high school and people, you I always knew that you, like, always had my back. There are a few times where Shannon kept me from getting beat up
I don't wanna say
at
names, go on.
school. Yeah, I won't say names, but I like, someone's boyfriend would, like, look at me, and then it caused, like, a problem. Do you remember that?
I know the exact
And I
situation.
remember Shannon, like, marching up to this girl and saying, "Listen, Lex is my friend, and she didn't do anything wrong, and you better back off." Like, some kind of version of that, like, something.
But in my chill, like, hippie way,
Yeah, but
right?
also in a serious, because you also have, like a serious, like, "Don't mess with me" side to you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so even, like, later, I remember maybe it was, like, college time or we were out, and we were in where were we? I think we were
were
in
we at Lafayette?
Philly, or we were somewhere. We were in the bathroom, and someone was, like, pounding on the door, and you were like, "We're in here. Back up."
HVAC,
Yes. And
HVAC.
I remember thinking, "Oh, like, nobody would mess with Shannon." She's like, "Do I have to go out there? Do we have to go out there?" And then one time, I think Cammie started getting into it with somebody outside, like, a Chinese restaurant in Philly, and you were like, "We're gonna have to go out there." And I was like, "I don't know how to fight." You're like, "We're gonna have to figure it out." And we didn't. But I was like, "I can't do that." And you were like, "Wow," like, ready to, like, take off your earrings and, like, throw down. And so you have this side to you that is very, like, loyal in those moments, and you always, I think, stand up for what you feel like is right. And I think, to your point earlier, I think people do listen to you, because that, in those situations, like, especially with that girl, like, she definitely backed down, and I no longer had a threat. Like, you saved me. But I don't know that anybody else could have, like, calmed the situation down in the same way as you
And it's
did.
not like I offered money or anything,
No,
it
you
was
just
just
told
like
her, "This is not gonna happen."
yeah, it was also like, "Hey, man," I don't know if it was, like, psychology 101 that I was trying to pull out of a hat, but kinda like, "I know you, and I know things about you that maybe you don't remember I know about you. You better back the F off, Alexis." And she never said a peep again.
She never said a peep again, ever again. And, so I remember things like that through high school, but it's funny because you were allowed to, like, go out at night and, like, do stuff, and I really wasn't. And so I think you went out with, like, the older kids, or, like, did stuff, like, and I wasn't really part of that crowd, but you and I together, and then I had some weird friends that, not even sure what kind of phases I was going through, but had some interesting friends, and, we were always, like, friends in the background, and then when we would come together, we were always friends, but we had our own kind of, like, other groups outside of that in high school. So I always thought that was kinda, when I was thinking back on that, I thought that was kinda interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's how you and I have always evolved our friendship, right? That the bond between the 2 of us, we've always had this, like, organic connection, just like you mentioned earlier, but we've also still been capable of having these, outside connections with other people for other reasons, right? And I think that's what today's all about too, is talking about those authentic relationships, from, like, an individual perspective, but the relationship you and I have always had has always been so sincere and authentic, um, which has been extremely, extremely rewarding. I often tell people, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead of the high school years, but my perception of Alexis was always that she was extremely put together, extremely driven, extremely smart, like, from an IQ standpoint. Um that was always extremely influential for me because I'll never forget even, like, you in English class, right? From an academia perspective, you were always just so on it, right? From a very young age, we're extremely motivated when it came to, like, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, and what you wanted, and you were so driven. And that was just so impactful for me as a friend that when I got lost along the way, Alexis was that friend that would call me up and be like, "Shannon, what are you doing with your life? You need to get yourself together." But it was like extremely, extremely influential for me to get back on track, to have that human in my life to be like, I care so much more beyond like this. I care about like the big picture of who you are as a person and the path that you're taking in life. And I want to ensure that when you get off the track, I'm going to help you get back on that track. Right. So that's always been so, so, so impactful, and you as a human so influential um, through, I think, the success I have had from a career perspective. I oftentimes talk about you making that call with me. And even
Really?
throughout high school, right? Absolutely. You being like, Jan, who the hell is that? Like, you were able to, I think sometimes you don't give yourself enough credit for how insightful you are. Um, with picking up on just human behavior and good people to bring into all lives. So that's something you've never given yourself enough credit for. Maybe you're a little bit more attuned than you know. So,
Well, I think I really appreciate you saying that. I think that when it comes to our friendship specifically, I think that there are times, so we have been through, I mean, I think part of the reason too that we have such a bond that we have now is because we've been through like just adolescence. We've been through death in adolescence and in adulthood. We like, and very close personal, like,
um,
and we have gone through like marriages and kids. Like, we really have had a lot of shared life experience that I think is very different from other people. Maybe not from our high school, but like if you get outside of that, like when I talk to Lee or anybody, like nobody else has had that much sort of like trauma bonding, I think, um, in that way. And I I'm I feel appreciative that you said that, but I think that for me in our friendship, I do feel like there's times where I definitely have not shown up for you in the best way or been too direct without having any sort of like empathy for that. And I think that a lot of that comes with my own sort of growth, and maybe I just like I didn't do it on purpose, but I think I wasn't aware of things. And I think there's certain times in your life that I can pinpoint that I don't think I showed up for you in the way that I should have.
oh,
And I think that there I think that there are I think that there were times where we spoke quite often, and I think that maybe, and I know like, and we can talk a little bit, our lives got busy. We had kids, we did a lot of stuff, but I think there was a time period right before we had kids that maybe I wasn't a safe, comfortable place to tell a lot of things to. And I think that might be, and maybe subconsciously or consciously, but maybe because of how I didn't show up or the things that I said or the way that I said them and the times that sort of came before that.
oh, well, I appreciate you saying that. And I think because you have always been so influential to me and someone I admired and looked to, although I was going through some pivotal kind of traumatic life experiences in my life, even if I had felt a certain way, it is really hard for me to pick up the phone and initiate communicating how I was clearly feeling, right? Because my headspace just wasn't capable of doing that in that moment. So I really appreciate you saying that. I
Oh,
really do. Thank you. And I think we need to give ourselves more credit because to be able to even just be here today, considering we've lived apart for so many years.
we've lived apart for more years than we were friends together in the same city. I mean, when I look back, like that's such a small blip of like time. What do we have? Like 4 years of high school and like a half a year of college.
Yeah, happy year at college. X and I moved out to California together. And then we had a lot of stories from that time too. But then and I both moved back to the East Coast. That's we spent a lot of time together when you were in Philly. I absolutely loved my weekends
That's
in
true.
Philly, but I so vividly remember you picking up the phone one day and was like, Shan, I think I need to go back west. I was like, I think you need to go. I don't think you owe anyone an explanation. And that's when your dad and your grandmother were simultaneously sick. I was like, you need to go. You need to go. You need to do this. So we've had a lot of like those kind of pivotal chapters. I think that brought us together as friends because the lows of the Lynn was we were able to just pick up the phone and call. Um, and then in a it's like apples to oranges, but through my first marriage, being able to call you. And I think you need to give yourself more credit because when you talk about like your tone or how you roll with me, I think the communication that you had with me was needed to get past some of the emotional baggage in order for me to make healthy decisions for myself. Um, and for me then being a parent at the time. And you being able to say, like, you need to make a change. Like, what the hell are you doing? Right. And I think sometimes, and I've learned that even from my own work and working with legally emotional situations in the day to day, sometimes people need to hear objective feedback to cut through kind of like the heavy emotions. It needs to be sometimes black and white and not gray because emotions are very gray. So give yourself more credit
Well, thank
when it
you.
comes to all of that because it was still impactful and not in like an F year, but like a way that was like, I need to get my shit together type of
Well,
thing.
it
Very
came from a
reflective.
caring place, but when I look back, I think like I hope that I didn't, yeah, like say it in a way that made it harder to call me in those moments.
I feel like because you knew me well enough, you knew how to go from like the 0 to 100, like the 0 being here's like the bad decisions and the bad situation, right? And you're up here at the just like, you say to get it done, Shannon. I don't want to see like my friends struggle anymore. I don't want to see you be in an unhealthy situation or your child, and you need to just rip off the band-aid and F and go. And that's what I love about you because I don't think anyone else would ever have the balls, right? To be able to have those kind of conversations. And to me, that's defining your loyalty to me, right? Well, mine might be outweighed with like, don't mess with Alexis. Yours was like, I'm going to directly tell you that this is dumb. This is unhealthy. This is unsafe. You need to make a change. And that's how you guys had my back. Whether tone was a factor or not, right? That's not what mattered. What mattered is that you weren't going to give in to the emotional poor state I was in, and someone out of the two of us needed to rise above that in order for me to make change, and it was you.
Well, I appreciate that. That makes me feel better knowing that that wasn't totally how it was received or perceived.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
So, when we could go on here, I'm going to just like I'm going to try to share these pictures real quick so that you can see. These are the ones that I just have um in uh let's see. And you can still hear me, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So, this is a picture. Can you see these?
Uh-huh.
So, of us cheering. This is some weird picture we took in homeroom. I don't even know what picture that is.
I think those are definitely the tanning bed days.
Oh, yeah, heavy tanning bed. Here's us. I think this was like because we were cheerleaders. I think we had to dress up for like as football players and play. So I remember we had to
Yes.
get like some of the football players' jerseys.
That's hilarious.
How about this one? Graduation day. Da, da, da. And I had
Da-da-da.
some disposable camera that said Millennium Memories. This-
Oh, that was so cool. Back in the day, that was just...
We used to dress up. Is that your closet?
That's why I was like, I did have a double closet.
It
But what
it
was
must
on
have
my
been yours, but
door?
I don't recognize any of those clothes or those posters on the wall. Were those,
Huh.
like, I don't know what those are. But
And I wonder if that was at the I don't know. That's weird.
it looks like your room, but doesn't look like your room, right? Oh, and how about this one? Prom.
Oh, cool. Two real hotties.
You were so tan. You look like a Hawaiian, like you just came off of like the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah, I think I still have the puka shells on too.
Yeah. And then, oh, those were like the same ones. But then, so do you remember when you came to my going away party?
Sure do. How could I forget? Is that one that we did at the Greek restaurant? Oh, yeah.
No, this is the one that my work had for me, that Ori like had.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes. I sure do.
When I was moving out of Philly? But you came for that. You like came in. I didn't even know that you were going to be there. So I feel like and then this is the last time. Is this the last time we saw each other? I think it must have
I
been.
don't think I'm... Oh, is that me? I was like, I'm not
Yeah,
even in
that's
all
you.
oh my gosh. My hair's so, like, blonde.
Yeah.
Is that when everyone met Lee for the first
Yes.
time?
That's when everyone met Lee for the first
Yes.
time.
Oh, yeah, because you weren't feeling well. I remember you took a Claritin.
I had COVID.
Did you have COVID?
I didn't know it was. So that was in like December of
It
20.
was right before COVID
That was
started,
December
right?
of 2019. And then in March is when everything shut down the next year. But I think I had COVID because I lost my sense of like taste and smell. And I lost my voice for like a week.
I remember that because you were like, "Shan, I just don't feel good." You're like, "I have tried everything. I feel like crap." And I was like, "Try Claritin D.
You gave me one. I was
That'll
like,
help you."
fine, if this will allow me to have some drinks and feel better.
Yeah. It's like, crystal meth. You have to use it. You have to show your license to purchase it.
But I think I did feel better. But so I had I'm pretty sure I had COVID because I was sick for like a month.
I remember that.
But it was before I knew that COVID was
Before
even
COVID was a thing
at
at that point.
at all.
Yeah.
I did lose some lbs though, so that was kind of like nice. But I felt like total shit, like total shit.
That was a fun night. We had a lot of fun nights in Philly.
We
back in
did.
the
We
day.
used to. So Philly was fun because there were so many bars and we could do the dive bars. Oh, and then,
Oscars.
yeah, Oscars. We could do dive bars. We could do hotel bars. I really felt I had dinner with some friends the other night and that was a really unique time for me because I felt like I just knew everything about that city. And so when people would come, I was like, we know people and we're here and we go out here. And then because you had been going to the Mummers Parade forever, so you had like that whole scene. So like many a time, I don't know, we had so many. I do often tell the story of when we went to Spain and when I missed my flight. I do tell that
Do you know
story.
how often I tell that story?
I tell that story all the time when anyone talks about their passport or having to rush it or anything like that. So that was like, we were drinking all day in Philly on that day.
We
and
had
then
planned
going.
for that trip for almost a full year, I feel. And like with your way more type A personality than me, we had like a whole itinerary. We knew where we were going to be, when and where. Alexis took the charge, right? But I think I had purchased the tickets.
You
And
had.
so we had figured out, I think it was a week before we flew out, that I had gotten a phone call. And I can't remember the flight. Was it American Airlines
I don't know
that we
what it
took?
was.
But they were like, "Hey, we overbooked your flight. Is there any way that you could take the same flight at the same time, but have a layover in Munich, and we will bump you all up to first class tickets on an international
Like
flight?" And we
business
were
class,
like,
first class.
"Yes, please."
Because our
Right?
tickets were like $600 or something like
Yeah,
that.
round trip to like Spain,
Right.
which is absolutely crazy, right? And we had each taken off like 2 weeks worth of work. We had taken off the day before so we could just go down and meet Alexis and party all day before we got our taxis. We weren't even getting an Uber at that point.
They
We were
didn't
getting
have Uber.
freaking taxis.
They didn't have Uber.
Taxis, right? So we're all partying, and I remember it had been hours, and we were just like elated that we're going to be taking this awesome trip and staying with Alexis's sister, and we had it all mapped out.
We were going to the airport like in an hour.
Yes. And I looked to Alexis. I'm like, dude, show me your passport. And she said, Shanny, it's so old. And I'm like, I don't care. She shows it to me and she turns to me and starts welding with tears. And I'm like, what's wrong? She goes, oh my God, it's expired. I'm like, what?
It had just expired like the month before. So the way I remember it is I said it's so old because you had just gotten yours. And you had just gotten new pictures. And I said, oh, the picture's so old. And what I remember is you looked at me and said, how old? And I said, I don't know. And then I looked and because those passports, it's irresponsible to make them last for like 10 years. How can anybody remember that? That's
How
a
could
long
anyone remember
time.
that? Especially when you think you've done your due diligence because you have a passport,
especially when
right?
you're in your 20s. That is irresponsible. That's just irresponsible. So mine had expired like the month before. I was drinking. I just remember bawling my eyes out. And
your mascara was like running
I was
down your
puffy,
face.
and I remember calling my dad, who was in California, like they had lived there, and telling him like he could fix it. And he did. He found me like a passport expediter place. We sent you guys. I'm on the phone with you. I think it was US Airways.
Yeah,
they were telling me
on the phone
that it was going to cost me like $2,300 to replace my ticket or something crazy. And my dad was like, oh, like, fine, just like do it. And I was like, no, that's like insane. And you, bless your heart, were sending me pictures of you drinking champagne in business class, going like, I told everybody, just go to the airport and talk to them. It'll be fine. And I was like, oh, and I did. I left the passport expedite place. I like paid for that, but they needed a flight to like finalize it. And so you were like, just go to the airport. I talked to them. Everybody knows about you. Just go to the airport. And this was in the days, I guess, I just took a cab to the airport. By the way, my passport picture that I took was like puffy, my eyes were red. I mean, it looked like I'd been taken or something like that. Like it looked like something had happened to me. And I went to the airport and you had told, I think, everybody that checked you in, like about your friend and what had happened, like told everybody. And so they were expecting me when I got there.
Sure were.
And this guy just looked at me and just didn't even say anything. And he just like typed away. And then he slid his ticket over to me and he said, we'll see you tomorrow. And I said, oh. And I like took the ticket. And I remember I sat on a bench at the airport and just like cried and breathed. And you guys hadn't taken off yet. And I texted you and I was like, I'll be there in a day. Same time, same place. Like I'll meet you.
You're like, see you in 24 hours. So we kept backing up to the end of the line because I didn't want to like lose reception with you. And also, like, we didn't know what to do. It was like, do we still go? We're staying with Alexis's sister. Like, what do we do? What's the ethical right thing to do?
But we were staying at a hostel first.
Yes.
So I was like, just go and I'll meet you there the next day. And because I had already written out all the ways to like get off the plane and what bus to take or what subway or metro or like whatever to take. And so it was really weird. But then when I went to check into my flight the next day, I saw that same man. I call him this like beautiful bald man. He was just like, ah. And I saw him and I was like, hi. And I don't know what possessed me. You guys had sent me all these pictures of hot towels and like champagne and food in your like
remember
pods.
We were upgraded to business class.
So I said to the guy, my friends had so much fun in their seats. And I had an upgraded seat. And he just looked at me and he, I don't know, typed away again. And then he said, enjoy your flight. And he left me I basically had the same ticket. I didn't have to pay a dime for that ticket. Because US Airways, if I was going to make me like rebook a whole new thing. And that man just like gave me a whole new thing. And then I went and I showed up at the hostel and Marcus was like down getting like a drink out of the vending machine.
He was waiting for you with a can of beer. They
Yeah.
had cans of beer in the vending
Vending
machine,
machines.
and Alexis somehow made it through, right? None of us spoke Spanish
I
fluently,
don't
and it was
know.
kind of a little bit of a trek to get from the Madrid airport to this hostel down these back cobblestone
I
alleyways,
was
and it was
determined.
literally 24 hours later, Marcus is like, "Hey, I've been waiting for you." There's just, like, a beer waiting for you.
And you
Dude,
guys
that
had
was
obviously
insane.
made friends with the hostel owner, and then we went out that night. And then remember, he bumped all those people out of their room for our way back?
He's like, "Sophia and Thomas, goodbye."
We're like, okay.
Dude, that was
Uh,
so much fun.
but
That
I
was
feel
so
like
much fun.
you and I, so you are also somebody like I am who's not afraid to ask for something or go up and say, well, what about this? And like, and not make a scene, but definitely like see what's possible. And I feel like also maybe that's something that you and I really have in common where like you were like, I've told everyone at the airport and they just say you should get down here right now. And
I
I
was
was like,
like,
okay.
"Just come here and tell your story."
And I did, and it worked.
It actually worked, and it's not that I knew it was gonna work, but I was like, "I'm just gonna keep backing up to the end of line," and I basically put it out there that it wasn't possible for you to not come.
Yeah.
I was like, "Come tell your story," and it worked, and on the way back, it didn't work.
It did.
When you said, "Shannon, try your magic again,"
We
and they were
ended
like,
up
"Yeah,
in the
for
middle
$500," and we're like,
we ended
the
up
whole way home.
in the middle of like a giant like middle section of the plane in the middle of the middle section like this with like the worst turbulence of my life.
Yeah, we're, like, dipping over the I don't know what ocean that was that we were flying over on the way home, but we were, like, the whole way back.
It was bad, but it worked on the way there. It worked on the way
And
there.
Feria was so much fun.
Oh yeah, and we were dancing. So you also are someone who's not afraid to go up to the front. Anytime we've gone to a concert, we go right up to the front. We like would get backstage. We would be in the group, wherever we would just like wander in. And I think you and I are two people who are definitely like down for a good time and willing to kind of go on that ride. I mean, I think there's probably been situations where like, ooh, we shouldn't be here. But, that knock on
It
wood.
always resulted well.
Yeah, it's always resulted well. Um, but I think because we have that sort of attitude where we're just gonna go see what's possible up there. And we're just gonna
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
And we're gonna
We
be
just wanna
nice
see the
about
different
it.
perspective.
Yeah, and we're gonna be
Absolutely.
friendly about it, and who's gonna say anything to us? And if they do, we'll just be like, and then we'll just keep going. So,
That just
like,
reminds me of Fish and Hershey when we were,
yeah,
like, navigating through all the waves of people, and
all the way up
Alexis
to
and
the front.
I got right up front. Right up front. We didn't have pit tickets, but somehow we maneuvered our way to the pit.
Right.
Um, and that was a good time too. And I think our musical bond has really grown, right? Like
Well, you went to
you
way
talked about
more concerts and things, and I didn't really grow up going to those. And I found that I really enjoyed live music, and you were always very connected to like local live music. And a lot of people from our high school were very creative and musical, and you tapped into that. So I feel like I sort of like rode with you on that journey, and it allowed me to be a part of that scene where otherwise I don't know that I would have like done it on my own, but I really enjoyed it.
Dazed and Confused. I feel like Alexis and I watched Dazed and Confused for like a whole year straight after school every day. Um, and we yearn to be those characters in the movie because we went through a little bit of that phase too, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that was part of our proclamation of like this connection that we felt with music and this we bonded with this movie. Um, because then you kind of found your own circle too, who were fellow like fish and dead lovers outside of me
Yeah.
because you found your own circle throughout college and also in and out of some dating experiences that you had had where you ended up you were going on your own to go see Fish or to Bonnaroo or to these festivals,
Yeah, that's true.
which was super cool, and I absolutely love that about you as well. So that was always a really cool connection that we had had as well. So, yeah. going down memory lane.
We also had, like our tiffs. Like, I think the thing that has also kept us is that we've always been really real with each other. There's definitely been times where we were at odds and needed like space and then came back. So I feel like, I think you mentioned, you talked about it before, but we're not afraid to say like, that wasn't cool. We're like, why are you acting like this? Or what's going on,
Right. We were never, because we're both very outspoken, and both of us, I think, project this level of confidence to be able to be outspoken, like when you talked about getting to the front of the concert or whatever that was. And I don't feel like you or I are able to get that from a lot of other relationships we had had. So that was something we've spoken about over the years, right? Is that we never were passive with each other if we felt a certain discontentment with each other. It was like, no, I don't agree with that, or you're kind of being a dick.
Yeah.
This is kind of how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And I feel like that passion was also a driver for our connection, or being able to call each other and be like, this is what we have going on with this circle of friends or this circle of friends. Can you give me like your honest um, perception or feedback as to like what I could have done differently to communicate, or,
That's right,
and
because
we knew we could
you
get
actually
honesty from each
mediated like
other.
a few of my fights with like other friends. I'm thinking of one in particular,
Yeah.
uh, who I know you weren't a fan of either, but you mediated that. Like some of my other friends would contact you to try to figure out what was going on with me, and you would sort of facilitate that.
The liaison role.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You definitely have played that role also. Um, yeah,
Because of course I'm gonna have your back, but I was also trying to hear,
right.
knowing how your personality was.
Like what might be
Um,
going on for real.
yeah, where the middle ground was, and knowing how important these friends were to you in your life and how much they impacted you, and didn't want you to, sever ties with them altogether
Right.
if it wasn't worth the severing. But I felt same thing. And vice versa through certain friendships and relationships I had, and you being able to, whether I like to hear it or not, but just give me like an honest perspective
Or your
on
family.
that.
I feel like I've gotten drawn into your family dynamics, I think, more so than probably some of the friend ones. But yeah, just to like uh try to go to bat for your point of view.
Which was always so appreciated. I always felt like Lex was one of those friends who, sexy Lexi,
I know, I was
Alexis.
thinking
I know I'm calling you
I
Alexis, but I
have a
usually
few
call her Lex
names.
or sexy Lexi. Sexy Lexi. Mm.
Can you imagine that was
Lex.
my trying to tell Lee that was like what people called me in high school, but it wasn't
And you
like
come up on my phone, sexy Lexi. So people are like, if I randomly, because it's also like my work phone as well, will be like, who's sexy Lexi? But I just went down this bunny trail thinking of this other story. So I feel like you and I talk about our bond and this connection we have. Alexis and I always have had the craziest stories. From when we moved to California, and stories that we're not going to share today, maybe for another episode, right?
yeah.
But we talked about Spain. We talked about, and I know, is Eric going to be on your
Yeah.
podcast? I think you can say his name, right?
Mhm.
And he'll probably be wearing the denim too. I don't know if it's like a high school thing. I don't know. As far as this artsy connection we have in our rougher denim. But that time that we reconnected with Eric and that whole
We just
story
showed up. He was like, "Come back to my
in
house in
Hollywood.
Hollywood, and I live in a studio with my wife, and I'm just gonna call her and tell her that whatever she had planned for tonight, you guys are just staying over." And it was you, me, and your sister Kelly,
And
and
she's like an aspiring artist at this time, just trying to make
photographer.
it. And
Yeah. And then we ended up in Jumbo's clown room. So, what a night. What a random night. He had to call off work.
drinking cocktails with oranges that had fallen in their driveway.
We were at the
And you're,
Roosevelt. We went to the Roosevelt bar.
That's right.
We were
Eric's like, "You know when you've made it when." And there was, like, bars on their windows, you know?
yeah.
Again, projecting what this was. If you only knew what they became now.
Yeah.
But again, it was not what a square. How did we get here? When we parted with them at, Jenna's family's farm.
I still have pictures of, like, the peacocks and all that stuff, and then that was right before it, like, burned remember? They had that, like, terrible
Yes.
fire? But
Dude.
that was wild that, it's like a pig roast that they had, like, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, out in, like, the middle where was
In
that?
Ojai.
In Ojai, that's right.
We drove up
That's right.
there. No, I mean,
And we
we
were invited.
w
It was just family, and Alexis and I were invited.
yeah, it was her entire extended family, and Eric's like, "And I'm gonna bring my 2 girlfriends from high school who are out here." He's always been such a trooper. No, I think, like, we have had a lot of different stories. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Um, but I think it's because you and I are so open, we're so welcoming, but also I think you are a really good judge of when things start getting weird and you're like, "We're getting out of here now." And I think that that has also always kept us, like, pretty safe as you can be for wandering and going with people that you don't know, you know? There's things now that we did that I'm like, "Oh, I hope Lucy does not do those things," but also, like, I had a great time, but I always was with people who I really trusted, and so, like, you of a number of times, you'd be like, "Dude, we're getting out of here now." You just give me, like, the look, and we just leave. We just get out. Like, yeah, you're like, "This isn't cool. These people aren't cool anymore." Like, you always I think you were a really good judge of character in that way and being able to be like, "No, this is a cool situation," or like, "This is not good. We need to get out of here."
Something's about to go down,
Yeah,
you
you
know? It
always
might
had,
have
like,
been
an
cool a few
intuition.
hours ago,
Right, but
but now
now
things are getting a little weird, a little witchy. It's time for us to jet.
yeah,
I remember sometimes you being like, "What do you mean?"
be
I'd
like,
be
"We're
like,
getting out of
"Let's
here."
go. Let's go." Whether it be in Spain, Philly, the mountains of Ojai,
Anywhere.
the Hollywood Hills,
Have
Orange County, Bremerton Community College.
yeah, anywhere. Or just, like, Hummelstown, like, running out of parties, calling, "We
Oh,
need picked
girl.
up on the side of the road. We're out here."
Considering we had never gotten in trouble.
I don't know how, yeah.
We were always able to just, yeah, feel it out.
So, you have 2 kids, and I have 1, and I have been able to sort of, like, hear about and witness, like, Lucy making, like, friends in, like, preschool, where everybody is like, "A
That's
best
awesome.
friend, and a best friend, and a best friend." But it really makes me because I don't meet a lot of, like, friends now, I would say. I just I don't put in the time, and I haven't put in the time to, like, find where to meet people now at this stage in my life. It's probably something I could explore later. But, like, I don't know, maybe if I have energy. I'm just trying to really
Oh,
beef up the ones I have, make sure those are really strong. But, like, I observe how open and honest they are with each other. Like, "You're not my best friend right now." Even if they don't even know what they're saying, they're, like, very, like, "No, I don't wanna play that right now," or "I don't wanna do this," or you know? And I just think, like, it's very cool, and somewhere along the line, you lose that, like, that goes
yeah.
away, but I think it's been really refreshing to, like, watch her sort of, like, navigate little friendships as she's come in and made me think, like it just makes me laugh, and makes me think about, like, my friendships and the beginning of them and how they started and where they are now and what even, like, her journey for friendship might be, I
I
think.
love that. I love that. I love that perspective and, like, looking at it from an outsider looking in through that looking glass, right? And there's no it's so pure when it
Yeah.
comes to our kids and their friendships and, whether it be through observations or communications that they're making with us and us having to get nostalgic and remembering what that pureness was like. And it's like unadulterated, right? Where did we lose that along the way?
Yeah.
Of being able to just speak your mind with no kind of veil, mm, that was getting between, our pierced feeling and that communication, and that's what I love about kids. Ezra was asking me the other day, Ezra's my oldest, mm, Mom, and he's just turned 11, and he said, "Was there ever, like, people that said things in school that you thought, like, weren't right, or, like, how did it make you feel?" So, like, asking some of those questions reminds me how, like, we recycle these periods in our lives, but what kind of insight can I give my children and my pawns, like, this well-rounded perspective and where to respond that's gonna create, maturity and peace and confidence. So that's a really good perspective that you bring.
Yeah, I just am curious, like, I think when we have kids, I think, sometimes our friendships can be more complicated. We have to work extra hard to create time for them and to do things and have the energy to keep them up and do stuff. But it also, like, watching them make friends makes me realize how important it is, like, how I only want, for them to find their people so that they can feel supported, and then makes me just think about my own people and how I feel supported or how I'm giving support to them because I want that so badly, like, for her, but I think, like, I also have that, and I would want the same, like, joy in that for myself.
That village,
Yeah,
right?
that village. Who do you think is
That
in, like,
village.
your village now?
So, I feel really blessed, and Alexis knows this about me. I've been working in healthcare, specifically with seniors, for 25 years now. So, my day to day, I definitely have a very close knit group of villagers that I see, 5 to 7 days a week, through my work colleagues. So, I would definitely put them in a category that's very relatable and supportive, um, that are outside of, relationships or friendships like the bond that Alexis and I have. It's more of like a day to day, they know what's going on. One of the kids is sick. They'll know I can call them and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be late today. Can you pick up A, B, or C for me?" Or so I was able to run Ezra to Selco practice because we had kids that are in like the same age group and things like that, right? So I would definitely conclude that they are in my village. Um, I feel as though I've had, and what's influenced me about Alexis reaching out has been, reading through your whole mission of creating the village and community outside of societal viewpoints, perspectives, AI, all of that kind of jazz is reaching out to some of our older friends and trying to continue on with who I know fundamentally have always been there for us. Um, so Brian Dell and I have reconnected. He's up in New York, but he's coming home a lot more frequently.
Yeah.
And the reason why we reconnected is talking about how important it is for us to have plans for our parents. I know it's the
Oh.
stuff we don't want to talk about.
No, you have to talk about it.
Advanced directives and power of attorneys and hey, like these are things we need to talk about. Like, unfortunately it's some sadness that's intertwined with that, but like that's what's kind of brought us back together and we have been connecting a lot more frequently. And then there's like Alexis, you brought up a really good point, right? There's been people who have attempted to build friendships for me through me, and it's really difficult for me. It feels like a lot of work. Sometimes I find myself ghosting people or blowing people off. And it's not intentional, but it seems like another job as an adult. Um, and I am so extremely grateful. I have this woman that I come across, she's a professional organizer and interior designer, and I've come across her on numerous occasional occasions from a professional standpoint, and her and I really vibe, and she reached out to me probably going on 2 months ago and was like, "Hey, I'd love to get, like, drinks sometime," or maybe if that's too much, maybe we can all meet with our kids, and it's lovely that she initiated and made that
Yeah.
work, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I feel like I'm putting a shield up because developing a new relationship later in life seems really emotionally taxing, but I'm putting way too much thought into it,
Yeah.
more so than I think I need to be, you know?
Yeah. I haven't figured that out yet. I haven't made any new friends.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, okay.
I'd say I hang out here in my new life here mostly with family, like my sister-in-law and different things, and then, like, have meetups with my older friends, like, once every few months when I can. But I have not put in any effort because I'm quite frankly, like, I'm tired, but I realize that, like, I should probably shift that and make some space for that and then see what happens. Because 'cause I'm also pretty I feel like pretty selective with, like, my you know I'm not, just gonna be friends with someone because like, Lucy's friends with them, like, I'm not, like, looking for extra friends, so, like, I think I need to probably make space for it and then see what comes my way, you
Right,
know?
because it's like this new chapter in our life, right? I know some of my parents' best friends have come out of, like, the friendships that, my sisters and I have had growing up, and they're still friends to this day. And just like we were talking prior, like, all bond will never change, but there's these new pods of friends, these new periods in our life when these individuals will become a part of our village, and I have to let my guard down a little bit in order to allow those individuals in, and that's what I really, really struggle with. I think I have, like, 3 different pods of friends right now, what we've been talking about for the last 5 to 10 years, taking a girls' trip,
I'm
and
one
none of
of
us
those
have
pods.
exactly ripped off the Band-Aid to actually do it. But I'm, like, part of the problem, right? "Hey, it's me." That that it feels like, and I talk about this a lot with my therapist as well, as, like, being a woman in today's time and the societal pressures and a mom, and it is it's a challenge, right? Even though subconsciously you try to push through any of those, societal pressures, it's hard.
But you
It's
do
hard.
have a very supportive partner who would definitely figure out how to
Oh
help
my
you take the
gosh.
time.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think
And maybe I
you
should have brought Joe up as my, part of my village, right?
yeah.
Joe is super, super supportive. I am so extremely blessed to have Joe a part of my life. He's my best friend. He's my fellow zodiac. I'm a Cancer. He's a Pisces. So we're both really sensitive humans. Um, and he wants me to be able to do me. And I think him being a creative and a musician, and he wants me to be able to explore that uh, in this period of my life as well. And he promotes it, and he's my cheerleader and encourages it. And I'm so, so, so blessed for that.
So I think you
And
have to then, like, force yourself to, like, ask for the help or the time.
right, we just talked about this literally in therapy yesterday, and I was able to invite Joe into it, right? Talking about how I had never necessarily had a safe partner before or
Right.
safe space. So it's a huge transition that my therapist is working on with me to navigate through with Joe, which is again a extremely huge blessing. And that's when I feel like I get a little witchy because he came into my life at this really weird space where my grandmother said, "That is the man for you." And then she passed away, and then Marcus passed away, and then Joe came into my life a few years later. I don't know if I shared this with you, Alexis. I found this old picture on my phone with Jared playing guitar, and Ezra was 2 years old.
You,
And
like, went to a
no, he was dating Erica's friend. And so he was at Thanksgiving with all of us. And that's when my grandmother was like, "That is the guy for you." And I was like, "Grandma, like, that's so inappropriate." Ezra just like navigated to him playing guitar. And I was taking a picture of Ezra, and Jared
That's
was obviously in the picture.
that's wild.
And then we reconnect online years later. And I was like, "I think we've met before." And he was like, "Uh-oh, have we?" Like, it made him a little, like, nerved out, and
Right?
I was like,
Like,
"No, no, 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 like, this is where, this is when, blah, blah, blah," and he was like, "Oh, okay."
that's super interesting. No, you
Yeah,
hadn't told
we
me
still
that
had
before.
all of these, like, really interesting, I don't know, connections. I also wanted to bring up that I didn't bring up Cammy. Cammy being home, Cammy has been a huge support, with me with the kids. I want to bring this up because it's really green. Joe and I have not gone away. Like, been away from the kids. We've been away once, um, twice, 2 times. One to see Dad and Co, where my Aunt Linda watched the kids. The second to my cousin's wedding, which was 2 weekends ago, and Cammy watched the kids.
That's very cool.
So to show her how to use the car seat and how to go to daycare and do all the things, and of course, she spoiled the poop out of them.
I'm sure.
But that was a way where, I felt like and she felt like it was filling her void. At the same time, it was also being complimentary over some of the disconnects I had from a support system standpoint.
Right.
So extremely cool.
Well, that is really cool. It's
You talk about your village right now, Lex.
my what? My village?
Your
My village is really, I'd say right now, my village is the people that I reached out to for this podcast. So, I mean, I've always kept a pretty small circle, but I would say like my immediate village is probably like you, Lindsay, Josh, Amber, Lee, and then family. I'd say I spend like 80% of my time like with family, hanging out with family. And then trying to make plans like once a month. So since I moved a little bit out of LA, getting back to LA is like a drive, or I like stay over at Amber's house or something. It takes like, planning, not just like going out for an hour to dinner. But I try to do that at least every few months. And then Lee and I try to also go away like for a night or two, like we used to do it really regularly. And I would say since we moved and all of that, probably every like 4 months now, which is a long time, but things get like so busy. They just get so busy. And so what I'm trying to do now is like take a step back and realize that like things are always going to be busy. And I can always say things are busy, but really, like you said, it's you. It's just that I feel tired and I'm not prioritizing that. But at a certain point, you sort of have to make it the priority, or it goes like it just, you know, isn't going to be as easy to pick up again.
and maybe that's like, with us talking about in the beginning, kind of like where our connection was. Maybe that's also like, so that's our strength, but also our flaw, right? Is that you and I, to be able to connect with someone, have to have this authenticity when it comes to building a new relationship. And if we don't feel that with a brand new human right off the bat, it's kind of a turnoff for us. And we don't know if we want to invest that energy because we know that our small pod, or humans that we consider our village, we have put in a lot of emotions and highs and lows and um,
Well, and for me,
days
I've
and
built a lot of
nights.
trust.
Trust, exactly,
Like,
loyalty, like all of the things that I don't know if I want to start all over with anyone else with that again.
I realize I'm super distrusting. Like, I don't trust you until I trust you. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm going to believe everything that I feel like even like when Lee and I were dating, he was like, I felt like it took you like a little bit to like open up. And I'm like, well, I just. I used to watch a lot of Dateline. I know there's a lot of tricky people out there. And I just sometimes I'm like, I don't know about you and I don't know if I want to share all the things about me, right away. So I feel like I probably have to start with like being able to be a little bit more trusting in that, but also like, I don't know, what am I looking for? Maybe like one new friend or like two, like not a
Right.
lot.
What's the magic number?
I don't know, like probably like one new friend would be like all I could realistically handle, like adding into the mix of like going out or doing something because, you know, you have to spend like time with people to grow that.
Right, because we don't like surface, and we know what it
Right. I don't
emotionally
like the chit
takes.
chat, like the
No,
surface
no
chit
small
chat.
talk.
I'm
Come
not
on.
into that.
Yeah, let's break away those barriers. And I don't know if I have that up here. We're at the have that in common. Like, I don't know if that takes time. That takes
Yeah.
a lot of time, right? Unless you just know that automatically you hit that off with like a school age friend's parent. Um, yeah, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes all the things.
Right. A lot of effort. So you've worked in nursing homes like since you were in high school. So you are, which I don't know anybody else that works with geriatrics and has worked with that demographic of people for so long. I think that's a special type of person that has like dedicated their life to that. I guess it's like teachers or like people who work with like small kids. You're like on the opposite end of that, but it's like a special type of patience and person who's comfortable with all the things that come with that. What do you see like from people in the nursing homes who have like do friends ever like would we end up in one together like in rooms across the hall from each other?
Absolutely. So we recently had two widowers that moved in. They're both in independent living, but both have recently lost their spouses and they moved to the retirement community I work at because of each other. So I think the one is in her mid 80s, other one potentially early 90s. But she sent our whole team an email ensuring that her other girlfriend could sit with her for the meals. Because believe it or not, they all have their iPhones and their iPads and
But she
their
was
email
advocating for her
communication.
and her friendship.
Oh,
She was like, just so everybody knows, we will be sitting together and hanging
yes,
out together.
yes. She also wanted to make sure that she got the friend referral because she swears that her other girlfriend, the only reason she's moving in is because she saw how great her apartment was, and because of their bond and friendship is why her girlfriend is now moving in. So of course we paid her
Of course.
for that referral, of course.
That's
So
so
there is
funny.
so many. The other pivot, it's really interesting you bring this up because like Lex said, I've been working with seniors for 25 years, including skilled nursing, personal care, assisted living, and hospice. And I've seen a huge pivot where years ago, if individual prospects came to us and they were touring our retirement community, they were looking for aesthetics and space and all the things. They are now looking for a community where they can feel a communal bond and develop new friendships in this stage in life. So that has been really fascinating to me. I don't know if it's post-COVID, but it also inspires me and gives me hope.
Yeah.
I think for how crazy the world is in today's time, that literally I have, we're not inexpensive by any means. We're private pay, so I have quite a few multi-millionaires that I'm working with that have outwardly expressed to me they could care less about their space. They over that there is opportunities for purpose, volunteerisms, and opportunities and new friendships.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, and I have openly shared that with some of my hierarchy as well, that I think we're shifting into a new stage in life. in society for what people are looking for.
Yeah. Have you learned anything about how they approach friendships or, like, what they're looking for in friendships?
I think relatability right off the bat,
Yeah.
right? Um, I I find it very interesting that from like a political stance, everyone that resides with us is all over the map, right? But as long as they can respect each other's viewpoint, they're not afraid, just like you and I shared about being outspoken about their purest viewpoints and having a respect for each other. Being able to have a glass of wine at the end of the day before they go down to dinner and chit chat about life, trials, tribulations, loss. Um, I think the relatability when it comes to loss has been extremely healthy for a lot of individuals coming to us in their early to mid 80s, upward of 100. Um,
So they're just able to be more vulnerable in their experiences and then they're the people they're with are receptive to that. Like, they're able to
Absolutely.
kind of be open to hearing, like, they're not uncomfortable with people sharing about themselves.
No. And that's kind of what we pulled away from too. We're not offering as many organized religious programs because we used to meet everyone at their individual spiritual kind of like from a support system, no matter what their outside belief was, whether it be Jewish, agnostic, atheist, Buddhist, Catholic, whatever that might be. And we're hyper focusing more on emotional support group. Um, so from a whole outward spiritual sense, that is the new kind of the wave of the future in reference to what seems to be bringing people together now
That's
is
pretty
that
awesome.
area of relatability when it comes to talking about grief, loss, transition,
I think
things
there's a
like
lot
that.
of hope for our youth and for,
For
our aging demographic. It seems like the people in the middle need to get it together, but everyone else has figured out how just to say what you want and do it in a respectful way and, just sort of move on.
it's been pretty wild to see. Again, 80s and 90s. Um, and I feel like outsiders sometimes forget that just because I don't drive anymore and maybe I can't hear and I'm 92 years old, I'm still going to go out into the community and vote and I still care about what's going on outside of the walls of my apartment. So that's been really interesting too to watch that climate go down um but I'm going to respect my neighbor
Right.
for whatever their beliefs are. There's no fistfights. It's the purest respect out of individualism that I've ever seen for people that could definitely, you know, put them up
Yeah.
because they've seen it all and been through more than anyone I have ever met or come across, especially when you talk about some of our still living today World War II vets and individuals that are in the tail end of the Great Depression and things like that. So that's been very inspiring. I think when it comes to a respect standpoint and just from like a maturity standpoint,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
been
that's
really
awesome.
interesting.
That gives me
Yeah.
some hope.
Yeah. It's
It actually makes me so, one of the things that I wanted to do on this show is do, like, a few little, friend facts, and so here's one, so you can either say "yep" or "nope."
okay.
Okay. Having a strong social connection can help you fight the common cold. Yeah. I always thought that is true. I always thought, obviously, if you have healthy relationships, you're going to be happier and all that, but I didn't know it had a direct response to your, like, immune system. And obviously, having healthy relationships and friendships, specifically where you laugh and can share emotions with each other, helps regulate your stress and your blood pressure and all these things, which help boost your immunity and, you know, keep you healthier for a lot longer.
Absolutely.
Do you find that do you find that in the nursing home that people are do better when they have grouped up with people?
Oh, absolutely.
It must, right? Versus someone who's like
Absolutely.
staying
And
by
I
themselves.
absolutely, whether it be a stress reliever, or just a sense of purpose for each other,
Right.
right? When these individuals, when their children are grown, they live all over the world, um, their grandkids, are now residing, whether it be within the country or outside the
Right.
country,
All
but I'm
they
not
have are
seeing
their
them every
friends
day.
that they are with there.
Exactly, exactly. So they're the first ones to say, you know, and I'm just making up names here. Shannon, I need to make sure that that I can get her some chicken broth because she hasn't been feeling well for the past month, and I want to make sure that I can deliver it to her.
So they're
That
looking
is her
out for
favorite
each other.
newspaper. Absolutely. Purpose is everything. I definitely intertwine the importance of socialization and relationships parallel to purpose. Like,
Yeah.
it's all interlocked from what I see,
Right.
and I see a lot of longevity.
Yeah.
Um, it's not unheard of anymore for individuals to be transitioning to us to the retirement home in their 90s and living well beyond
Right.
100.
That's amazing.
So I feel, and a lot of times that's the first thing I'll ask is, what do you contribute to your longevity? And a lot has to do with like sense of purpose.
You butt dialed me on one of your tours and you were talking about like the environment and different things. You butt dialed me twice. And then I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to hang up." But I was listening a little bit cuz you were giving you were giving a family a tour. And it was a different vibe than what I had expected, and I think you were talking a lot more about like interaction of people or the environment on
Yeah,
your tour.
I think structure, right? And I feel like a lot of individuals who after retirement maybe didn't have a lot of passions or interest or hadn't had a lot of like forethought into what does retirement look for me,
Yeah.
lose sight of purpose and structure and time. And those individuals I find to unfortunately travel down this path of cognitive impairment a lot sooner than others because of those losses. So, something I try to really drive home with individuals that are coming to us, right? Because there's always a catalyst why someone calls me to start.
Right.
It's like, is there a new diagnosis? Is there a new prognosis? Or is it isolation?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's isolation. Mom or dad doesn't know how to get started anymore. They're not cooking for themselves. They've lost a lot of their friendships. So, with their loss of purpose and relationships, I'm starting to see a major decline in them cognitively.
Yeah. I guess
Um,
that makes sense.
so, anyways,
So this is another one, and I think this I think pertains to us, and I think will give us a little bit of homework actually. So this is a it only takes 6 weeks without communication to lose closeness with a longtime friend.
I'm assuming because the question, it's a yep, even though I never felt that before.
It is a yep. So according to the study, it basically says that friendships rarely just end. Most of them sort of like fade out. And
Disintegrate.
friends who communicate once every 2 weeks have a significantly higher chance to maintaining those closeness like year after year.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we have fallen into a pattern where, and I'm sure a lot of people are like this, where we almost have so much catching up to do that sometimes like we don't have the hour or 2 hours to actually sit on the phone without our
Or
kids
7.
like yeah, 7 like yelling at us
Alligata,
to do that. I
to
think
do that. I think
before
before,
uh
uh,
not
not
before kids
before
cuz
kids
you had Ezra during
ever during
COVID,
band,
but
but
we like
we
would
would
try to
try to
like Zoom or FaceTime or something like that. But I feel like we probably need to recommit to communicating more frequently in some
It's
way.
important. It's important. If you were right here, I'd pinky swear you.
Pinky swear.
Like, yeah, yeah. So I'm pinky swearing. Something Joe and I discussed is he has to do some traveling out west. And I'm like, I want to go with you, even if I have to bring the kids. And I want to go visit Alexis
Yeah.
and turn it into like a,
Some kind of trip.
some kind of trip. One of us has to rip off the Band-Aid first because
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot longer than 1 hour,
I
2
feel like
hour,
even
3
if Joe
hour.
ripped off the Band-Aid, you would be like, well, but we need
Yeah.
to like put another Band-Aid back on for a minute.
That's what I'm working through with the therapist, right? She's like, that's why I'm here. So Joe yesterday was like, so I can say like, Doc said, right? Shannon, this is part of like the allowance. Like you need to go, you need to do it, you need to. So small baby steps.
Yeah.
But I just pinky swear to you, and I am loyal. So
What did
if
we
I
pinky swear on exactly?
we pinky sweared on staying in better communication with each other to
What
start.
what does that look like to start?
I'm going off of what you said about like the every 2 weeks.
Okay, so every 2 weeks, just once every 2 weeks, we have to at least send each other like a text or something.
Is it too much to ask if we schedule like a monthly FaceTime
We could do that.
and also have the kids say hi?
Yeah, we could do that. It's harder for me to talk once I bring her in, so that might have to be like at the end
Yeah,
of the call.
we'll figure it out.
Because then all she wants to do is talk on the phone and then just look at herself on the FaceTime and then hang up.
That would be Lane. Lane is a little diva. His best friend is a girlfriend, and is a girl, and he loves yoga.
Yeah, I feel
And he
like
loves
they would just
dancing and
get
poses.
along so well.
They would. He is a diva.
Yeah, same. I'm raising like a mini me.
She is definitely your mini me.
I wanted to ask you too. So, I bought this. I listened to this podcast. It was the one I was sharing with you before we started recording this. It's called Diary of a CEO, and it's fantastic. This is not an ad for that by any means, but if anybody ever wants some scientific research or just any kind of thing, it's a fantastic podcast. And they have these conversation cards. And I bought them because I wanted to, there are like questions that people have been on the show have asked. So I pulled a few that I thought were relevant to like our friendship. Um, and just ways I think to also share with other people, like how, you can get to know like different versions of you because we talk, but I don't know what all kinds of things you're into now because we haven't really had a catch up in a super long time,
Right.
right? So, what is one common misconception about you that people make, and how does that make you feel?
Oh, that's heavy. Mm. A common misconception. Mm, I don't know if I can articulate this right.
Maybe try.
So I feel like sometimes there's this misconception. I feel like I have like these traits of how I perform from like a work aspect, but a complete opposite when I get home and how I want to mother and how I want to be a partner and a friend, right? So I have like what you brought up earlier, the true authentic me is more of like, or what I desire to be more authentic, whimsical, organic. But then I have this driven, what can be perceived as almost a little bit more perfectionist from like a work standpoint.
Yeah.
But I'm totally not type A. And that's only bothered me a lot. And that was something that my boss had brought to my attention the other day. It can't all be perfect. And I thought, oh my God, I'm far away from being a perfectionist, like in my head, right?
Right.
Mm. So I would think that that's a common misconception is until you really get to know me, I'm so out there, I'm so zany, I've got so many flaws, but from what those that don't really know me have communicated to me or projected to me that I appear to have it together and I don't.
Which is funny because that's was my perception of you when I first met you from just looking at you because you're always like so, put together and all of this. But that's really interesting actually. Because but I think, especially like you talked about being a woman and being in business and you started like delivering food to people in high school and like that kind of stuff, right? So like you have had to work up through the ranks and I'm sure that takes a certain level of trying to like even fake it till you make it professionalism like where you almost have to like overcompensate for certain things to show like like anybody would that they are like worthy of the job that they are getting or anything like that. Like I think and maybe that can come across as like rigid or trying to control it or trying to be perfect at it or something like that.
Right, and I think
Well,
it's
you've
all
always wanted to do a
interconnected.
good job too. You've always really wanted to do a good job and really put a lot of effort into that. So I feel like you have a high level of expectation for yourself in that arena.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that was a really good, like, way to state it as well, because you know me so well. But something I've been working through with my therapist that has come to light, something I haven't caught you up on is, Ezra, my oldest, has an IEP for a learning disability. He was really struggling, um, he's in 5th grade now, and observing his struggles, realized there was a lot of parallels between him and he's dyslexic. And I was like, I've always thought he was dyslexic, but had never confirmed now. And so that has been something that I've also been wading through in my therapy and all the compensation strategies that I've put into place over the years, whether it be through how I communicate and articulate my levels of expectations and perfectionism for myself, not for anyone else, because I'm trying to overcompensate. Because we were in like the No Child Left Behind era, so there wasn't as much focus on
Right.
individualizing the academic support. And as I have grown through the ranks of my career, there's been a lot more administrative type of stress and focus, which then has created way more of a challenge for me. So that's part of what my therapist is working through with me right now. That and dysgraphia, right?
Oh yeah.
Is something else I'm going to be learning some additional uh yeah, compensating or through the everyday work field. So she explained to me that's why I could be perceived one way,
Yeah.
that I'm showing another side.
Cause you are like the wild, like hippie, like, free person. I think that that is definitely who you are, but I could see like in the workplace, because you and I have talked about it over the years, different things. So, but it's nice to hear that you are also working on some giving yourself some grace for those things to, because I think the ultimate goal would be to blend those two things together, right? Like you don't want to lose your professional edge, but maybe not feel like you're actually two different people in those roles.
Oh, absolutely. The new age
Yeah.
talk about masking.
Right.
I don't want to be unmasking all
Right.
day, you
Okay,
know?
so last question for you here. I've never asked you anything like this, I don't think, but what are you most proud of?
I'm gonna corn out and nerd out right now. I am most proud of being a mother. I have thought about this a lot lately, and when I am struggling to navigate life, I my heart just feels so full, and I feel myself start to, like, weld with tears because I feel as though motherhood has grounded me as a human, put things back in perspective for me, and, is my biggest accomplishment is being a mother.
I think that's awesome. I think you have always said to me that you would have, like, a bunch of kids if it was, like, possible, you would just have, like, a ton of them
Yeah,
because you really love I think you really love the, like, journey of it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love it.
I love it, you
I
do.
love it. I love it. And Joe and I the other night, uh, there's certain things I guess I can't say on here, but we we went down some rabbit holes after partaking in what do they call it? A California buzz. We went down some rabbit holes and we watch a lot of podcasts and after we get the kids down, have these deep conversations about our beliefs and what does spirituality look like for us and parenthood and all the things. And we were talking about what we feel like our purpose on earth is in this chapter in life. And I started getting emotional, of course, reflecting on, like we were just talking about, the senior population and feeling as though my purpose on earth is to help other people. And so that weaving in and out, obviously, is motherhood coming first and is top of mind. But then being able to support others throughout my life on the day to day, whether it be the senior population that I'm working with or just others that need a hand. And I feel like when I've gotten to this space where I'm most, we talked about perimenopause earlier and mentally and emotionally uh, not at my best, or how I define my best, that is when I try to draw more people closer to me, where more people are calling me and they feel that and like want to know how to navigate through something. And that's what's like currently filling my cup.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We should have
Be
a
so
talk
bad as all
sometime. I
get
also have
that
been thinking about sort of my
about like
spiritual
get
journey
that
and what
and more.
sort of spiritual
Yes, you're
anchoring I might
deeply
wanna
and
take
I'm going
into
to
this
take
next
that
chapter of
chapter
my
of
life
my life.
in. So I've been, like, dipping my toe in some different ideas.
We think about all the new things when we're parents.
Well, for me, I thought, I would like to establish something. I really am trying not I really am working towards being in alignment with myself and all the things, like, when I think about who I wanna be in the future, if I was to explain that to somebody, like, I really want to embody, like, who is that person? And, like, I really wanna try to embody that. And when I think about when Lucy is older, she is on gonna go through all the things that I've already gone through, right? She's gonna go through the heartbreaks and the friendships and the school, navigating, like, all these things, and, um, what I would like to be for her in that is, like, a calm anchor, like, a calm place to, like, come home to and to create that. And I think if we're not careful or intentional about that, we can get caught up in that drama and in those things too, or in our own lives. And so I'm really working now to sort of establish like a really calm consciousness for myself so that I can embody that. And so she knows whatever is going on in the world, we can handle it together, or she's been giving the tools to handle it. And I can remain this sort of like calm anchor, like this calm place that she can
I love
always
that.
return to.
I
But
love
I have
that.
to create that for myself, right? I have to let myself not get caught up in this, or I have to continue to. I think I've always had pretty high confidence, but I think, I have to continue to believe in myself and to push myself to do things so that I can be that. Because I think we're not only that example, but I want to be this like calm place. So, like, figuring out how to regulate myself really well instead of
I love
like,
that about you,
you know,
Lex. But
screaming or doing
that's always
something.
been you, right? We talked about how influential you were for me to pursue um, the career and the level of success that I've gained throughout my career as well. Because you were always able to think outside of yourself and you always desired to be the best version of yourself. But I never angled that in a way that was like from a perfectionist standpoint. Because, perfectionists can be like a little on edge and nothing's ever good enough. But you always seem to have these healthy visions of how to better yourself and your relationships with those around you, which is extremely inspiring.
Well, I
So,
appreciate that.
yeah, I
I
loved how you just worded that though. That was really grounding
I
to talk about
appreciate
being
that.
the anchor. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I
You
appreciate
really
that.
have a knack for that.
Thank you. I do tend to think holistically in those big pictures and then figure out where my place is. And I think that's part of what brought this project was on too, was I thought, well, if the world goes bust with AI, who knows what will happen if drones start shooting us up, or I don't know what's going to happen, right? Some people say nothing. Some people say it's like going to be the end. I mean, I don't know. But what everybody agreed on was that having strong relationships would be your best chance at surviving whatever's coming next. Um, and so I thought, well, that is something I can do, right? I can reach out to my friends. I can make sure that our relationships are solid, that my support system is solid, and that these people know that they can also rely on me so that I can be a part of theirs, so that if things get weird, we're like, well, at least we have each other and we can figure it out, right?
I love
I
that.
think we used to joke that we were all going to live on a commune someday. I think
That's
we
what I was just
still
going to talk
joke.
about again.
We
The
still joke.
commune and compound.
Yeah.
You just give me the flag, Lex, and I am there. I can
So,
paint it out in my head, and then you're going to be the one that's going to be like, we're doing it now.
yeah.
You're going to be the driver. I'll be the visionary.
Okay.
Let's go. We'll bring our kids. We'll all teach the different classes that we can bring to our children.
Lee will
And
farm. He'll grow all the vegetables, all the food
Joe's
that
going to
we
teach
need.
them music.
Yeah. We don't need math anyway. I mean, I don't need any of that, I don't think. I
Yeah.
mean, probably some of it.
I still blow up. I am digressing, but I still bring you up to this day. But I talk about some of my most driven friends. And I started at Applebee's, and then I was just
At Red
reflecting
Robin,
on. Oh, not to always say Applebee's. Did
because
you
we
work at
used to
Applebee's?
go to Applebee's to smoke cigarettes and eat French fries.
But why do I always say
I
Applebee's?
don't know.
Red
Red
Robin.
Robin.
Every time. Every time I say Applebee's, Red Robin. But then thinking about even that you built in Philadelphia, and you were always someone that was so confident in who you were as a human and what your beliefs were and what your motivations were. That it was just beyond your years.
Well, thank you.
And
Maybe
then
in
running
another
there before,
lifetime.
and then what, and you're like, "Oh, I was just going door to door that day. I need to make sure my feet are tired. Just
Just door
I've been
knocking
knocking on door all day,
4
but
hours
I
a
had
day.
mission, and I need to get here, and I'm here, and I was driving you to do that. You never had that pressure from home. You were some of the most healthy parents I ever met in my life. It's super cool.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Means a lot. Well, before we wrap it up, we have made a pinky promise to each other to text every 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Before we end this, one of the things that I thought would be cool is if we did sort of like a ripple challenge. So if this process, I think you already kind of said, Brian Dell, but if this process encouraged you to reach out to anybody, I guess you already did it. You already did the ripple challenge. But if there's anybody else that this sort of made you feel like maybe that, person who's been reaching out to you, maybe you can make like a a dinner date, like a girlfriend dinner date with that woman.
Yeah, that some of those new humans in my life, but
Yeah.
also I think more than anything is us committing to that pinky,
Yeah.
being able to reconnect today because we had the permission and the space and the allowance that was uninterrupted, reminded me how much I miss you.
I miss you too.
And us being able to reconnect again, I think is so important. We have so many more episodes about so many stories, maybe
Stories
some
and
that are a
time.
little PG-13.
I know.
We'll keep out the X-rated
Yeah.
ones.
We have a lot. We just have known each other a long time, and we have always you are always somebody that I knew if we hang out, we're gonna meet this person and talk to this person. You're always talking to everybody. You just talk to anybody. And then you would be like, this person's cool to talk to, or we're not talking to that person anymore. And then you would just like shimmy away or whatever. Yeah. But so I always knew when I was hanging out with Shannon that like we were going to get into something. I just don't know what it's going to be.
Be like hours later, we'll be like, how are we in this
How
space
are we
again? Are we in
here?
a dream? Is
Yeah.
this reality?
But it was. It was.
It was always a story to tell.
All right. Well, thank you again for um being on this journey with me, for scheduling the time and making the time and
Absolutely.
making it a priority. I really, really appreciate that. And
Thank you for being a visionary, Lex.
well, I just you know what?
We try.
If anything else, if for nothing else, I think we will always have these recorded friendship conversations for us to listen to but if somebody is out there listening and likes this, I have to do that plug where, you should subscribe to the channel and like the podcast. We're on Instagram and YouTube at Village in Progress podcast. So we'll be putting out more conversations with some of my friends, and I would love to have you back. I think it would be fun for you and Eric to come on together to do something
Oh,
like
we'd love
a
that.
like a little because I think the three of us together would be pretty funny. Um,
Continue on with the mission,
yeah. So thank you again for joining me, and yeah, and we will talk in 2 weeks.
Wally.
Wally. Oh, it's another one of our names. We do have a lot of names.
We have a ton of
A
names,
ton of
but
names.
that's for another episode.
Another day. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
If this episode inspired you to reach out to someone or make a new connection, we would love to hear about it. Please send us a message or drop us a comment on our Instagram at Village in Progress Podcast, or you can drop a comment on our YouTube channel at Village in Progress Pod. And if you would like to hear more of our episodes, please subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe and follow wherever you listen and watch. From our village to yours, thank you so much for listening. Keep connecting, growing, and let's build something meaningful together. Talk to you next week.